Hill has called Caitlin Clark a racist after new footage surfaced of the Ryan Howard.
Jemele Hill simply had a profound effect. During that heated confrontation with Ryan Howard, she called Caitlin Clark a racist, but the recently revealed footage completely contradicts her account. As the internet ridicules her for her viewpoint, she is desperately attempting to maintain her dignity. Seeing this backfire is incredible. Remarks Backfire. If you think Jemele Hill was truly ashamed of her racist accusation.
Busted, Steve. She got exposed once again. It looks like in September, Jemele sent a lengthy tweet saying Caitlin Clark doesn't get the same hate.
All right, folks. We need to talk about what just transpired because Jemele Hill has officially jumped the shark with this one. Somehow, she transformed a basketball game between Ryan Howard and Caitlin Clark into a racist narrative that is blowing up in her face faster than a cheap fireworks show.
This is season 2 of Caitlin Clark and the Fever, and now we have a new Jemele Hill rant. She is one person that's been pretty vocal about everything. The Angel Reese situation, now this Ryan Howard thing, which I thought was not a big deal whatsoever. Reported on it yesterday. She did kind of get into Caitlin Clark's head, kind of psyched her out. I believe that's why Caitlin Clark played so bad. But some new footage has emerged of the...
Let me set the scene for you, since context is crucial in this situation. We're talking about a WNBA regular season game where two rivals got into a heated altercation. Ryan Howard played aggressive defense and yelled obscenities in an attempt to influence Caitlin Clark. You know, the standard basketball fare that happens in every game at every level.
Caitlin Clark taking it back, and you can see the hold there. Then Ryan Howard doesn't like that. And there's some words between.
Clark has mastered these situations and is currently in her second season as a professional. When Howard got in her face, Clark responded in a direct and simple manner. "I'm not afraid of you. That's all." The entire discussion, which Jemele Hill thought was racist in some way. Before we talk about Hill's embarrassing interpretation, let's face the facts. This was the pinnacle of basketball competition. Howard tried to scare Clark, but she was uncooperative. She made it clear that she would not be intimidated, stood her ground, and kept playing basketball. This is exactly what you want to see in a professional athlete.
You're in Atlanta! All in her face, bro. Like, Atlanta's supposed to be the place where they just target Caitlin Clark. She was doing nothing, bro. She was dribbling. She's pressing her, hacking her the whole way. They hacked Caitlin the whole damn game, bro. So Jemele Hill has a...
But after seeing this conversation, Hill went straight to the race card. According to her twisted logic, Caitlin Clark's self-assured reaction to hate speech somehow makes her a racist. The mental gymnastics required to reach such a conclusion would win gold at the Olympics if ignorance were a sport. The newly leaked video, in crystal clear 4K, completely undermines Hill's narrative. What transpired is readily apparent. It was Howard who attempted to intimidate by using physical force and disparaging comments. Clark simply responded with assurance and continued playing basketball. There is nothing in the video that could be seen as racist, unless you're deliberately trying to stir up controversy where none exists.
That Jemele Hill called racism against Caitlin Clark. Competitors claims hatred is all made up. How is hatred all made up when you got fans yelling, "You're in Atlanta!" all in her face, bro? Like, Atlanta's supposed to be the place where they just target Caitlin Clark. She was doing nothing, bro. She was dribbling. She's pressing her, hacking her the whole way. They hacked.
This is what makes Hill's take even more ridiculous. Caitlin Clark has been ignoring the pattern of targeted harassment she has encountered since entering the league. This is not an isolated incident. Players have often attempted to physically intimidate Clark, get into her head, and rough her up. Howard's behavior was just the latest example of this concerning trend.
Clark, by the way, absolutely silenced everybody yesterday. The woke media was all on her. I hate to even mention this complete jackass, Jemele Hill, and others were all in her business. It's white privilege. She hits these threes. Man, I don't give a damn if it's white, black, or green privilege. Jemele Hill, she blames the media for covering Caitlin Clark. She's tremendous on television. What a missed opportunity for the national media to really evaluate who she was as a person. Why? Whereas it feels like our black athletes get the same amount of coverage.
Hill's position is shocking. She defends the player who started the conflict and attacks the one who stood her ground. Defending yourself from bullying shouldn't make you the bad guy, but that's exactly what happens in Hill's distorted view. She tries to dismiss Clark's experience as just normal competition, but the physical intimidation Clark faces is far beyond that. Hill's racist accusation has been widely criticized, even by those who aren't fans of Clark, because it's baseless and harmful to real victims of racism. Instead of admitting she was wrong, Hill doubles down and insults anyone who disagrees, showing her own bias. She's so committed to a certain narrative that she ignores obvious facts, labeling Clark's justified response as racist simply because it doesn't fit her agenda. Let's take a serious look at the issue of racism in this situation, not by making assumptions, but by examining the actual behavior of those involved. There's a troubling pattern in some corners of public discourse where any conflict between a black and a white athlete is instantly framed as racial, regardless of context or evidence. This mindset does more harm than good. In this particular case, it's clear from the video that Caitlin Clark conducted herself with professionalism, remaining composed even as tensions rose. It was Howard who escalated the situation. Yet Jemele Hill immediately jumped to racial conclusions, suggesting that Clark's actions, or the public's defense of her, must somehow stem from white privilege. That kind of assumption, linking someone's behavior directly to their race rather than judging their actions on their own merit, is, ironically, a form of racial bias itself. Hill's narrative wasn't supported by what actually unfolded. It was based on what she wanted the situation to represent, rather than what it truly was. Unfortunately, this isn't new behavior from Hill. Over the course of her career, she has often chosen to inject race into stories where it doesn't necessarily belong, which has had the unintended consequence of weakening public sensitivity to real and urgent issues of racism. This tendency to cry wolf has led many to tune her out just when we most need informed, honest voices in the conversation. While Hill continued to push a divisive narrative, Clark took the high road. She didn't lash out on social media, didn't engage in a war of words. She simply continued playing basketball, staying focused and respectful. That kind of maturity and professionalism speaks volumes, especially in contrast to the media frenzy surrounding her. Yet Hill doubled down, refusing to reconsider her stance, even in the face of mounting criticism and clear evidence. Instead of taking the moment to reflect or revise her position, she dismissed her critics outright, accusing them of ignorance. That stubborn refusal to engage in good faith dialogue not only hurt her own credibility, but also did damage to the broader fight against actual racism. By misusing the weight of such a serious accusation, she inadvertently gives ammunition to those who seek to dismiss or deny racism altogether. The backlash against Hill has been strong, and rightly so. WNBA fans, observers, and commentators have largely recognized the situation for what it is, a moment where Caitlin Clark was unfairly targeted and bullied, not because of her race, but perhaps because of her rising popularity and dominance on the court. Hill's framing of the issue essentially excused that bullying and sent a dangerous message, especially to young women in sports who look to establish voices for leadership and fairness. The result is that Hill has severely damaged her own reputation. With widespread criticism and little genuine support, her standing as a commentator on WNBA issues has been compromised. But beyond the individual fallout, there's a much bigger and more important lesson here. When public figures misuse the powerful charge of racism without clear justification, they don't just discredit themselves, they trivialize real struggles, make it harder to hold true racists accountable, and undermine the integrity of the cause they claim to support. Hill's refusal to back down, despite overwhelming evidence, shows that her argument was less about truth and more about pushing a predetermined narrative. And in the end, that distracts from the pressing, systemic racial issues in sports that genuinely need our attention. What we're left with is a cautionary tale about the danger of false accusations, how they not only harm innocent individuals, but also derail necessary conversations. Hill's attack on Clark ultimately backfired, and the fallout has left her exposed, discredited, and largely alone in her position. This is what happens when you claim racism without evidence. It hurts everyone, especially the fight against actual injustice.